Warm greetings. Welcome for online video session on Module 1 Operating System. In the last videos, we have seen the chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Module 1. In this video session, we'll see the process concept. There is a chapter 3 on Module 1. Myself Jagdish, Associate Professor, Department of Computer Science and Engineering, Kannada Engineering College, Bandwa. So these are the contents that we cover in the process concept, process scheduling, operation on process, inter-process communication. Objectives on this chapter is to introduce the notation of a process, a program in execution, which forms the basis of all computation, to describe the various features of process, including scheduling, creation, termination, and communication. So, how to schedule the process whenever process asks for any of the resources from the CPU, how to schedule the CPU process, how to schedule the memory, how to create and how to terminate the process, and how the communication between the two processes I will be seeing this coming next slide. And also we'll discuss about the communication in client and server system. Process concept. An operating system executes a variety of programs. In that we can see that what are the things we'll see. 1 minute. Yeah. That is, an operating system executes a variety of programs. There is batch systems, in that jobs, time shared system, in that user programs or tasks. Time shared system. So any of the process, if it is wants to make use of the resources of the computer, then the time slot will be fixed. So for example, process A, it is been fixed around 30 nanosecond. Process B, it may fix the time on 90 nanosecond, like that. It depending upon the CPU scheduling and the request given by the particular process. That is what we see the time shared system on particular task. Process, a program in execution. Process is nothing but a program in execution, not entire program. What we write the program, it's not going to call as a process. The process, the program which is already you have been written and you have start giving executing that program, we call it as a process. Process execution must progress in sequential fashion. In a sequential fashion, one after the other only the process execution must process. That is line by line. A process include, what are the process in that is process is nothing but the execution of a program. What it includes, how the program when you start writing the program, there is directories, then declaration, then start entering the functions, etc. The same way, whenever the process start executing, that is whenever program start executing, the process creates that in that process what are the things it going to contain. In that it contains a program counter, stack, data section. Once again I am going to repeat, program counter, it is increased by the value by the 1. Increase the value by 1, that is incrementer, keep on incrementing the program counter. Stack is a process, generally also includes the process stack which contains the temporary data. Data section which contains the global values. So these are the three things what the process contain. And process is nothing but actually more than it is a program code, which is also known as a text section. And program counter is always it contains it increments by value 1, and each and every time whenever you start executing the process, a program counter, of course I said it is a sequential fashion. Whenever it start executing a line by line, it keep on increasing its program counter by incrementing 1. So these are the three processes that it includes in each of the whenever you start executing the program, the process contain all these three contents: program counter, stack, and data section. So process memory, you can see here stack, heap, data, and text. So whenever the process starts executing, this is the what the data, that is what the memory of the particular process going to contain: data, text, heap, and stack. So text section, which is also a process, more than program, going to contain a program code, something like hexadecimal of that particular process, that data, what to say, which can sometimes known as a text section also. Some hexadecimal related to some unique ID will be get created in these text messages, text box. And program counter is a value of the program counter, and the content. Sorry, we already discussed about the program. It contains by incrementing 1 by the counter by 1. And what data section, which includes such as return addresses, parameters, local variables, etc. All those things, data will be contained in the data field. And heap is a process that is also include a memory, that is dynamically allocated memory during the runtime. Whenever you see the program, we going to give dynamic memory allocation. At that time, it keeps on increasing the size of the processor memory of the process. And obviously a stack, it keeps on further is contain the variable, as well as after completion it return back to the program, that is first come first out, something like that. So this is a process memory of the process memory. Whenever you start executing the program, this is what actually get created in the backend. Process states, and this important question also, process state. One is, there are 5 process state. One is new, running, waiting, ready, and terminate. New, running, waiting, ready, and terminate. So these are the 5 process, that is whenever it start executes, it has a 5 states: new, running, waiting, ready, and terminate. What actually it does? The new, it creates a process, the process being created. You can see this in this diagram. When new comes, it what it does, it starts creating a new process. Okay, and what running does, it instructions are being executed. So whatever the instructions has been given by the process, it starts executing. Whether it is an interrupt has to be occurred for the process, or it has to be exit, or it has to be something, it has to be whether wait for any of the resources. All those things will be done by the running state. In the running state, waiting state is that what it has to do, the process is waiting for some event to occur. It is some process has to be wait. For example, if whenever it comes in the at the running process running state, then at that point of time, the process may require some resources to complete its task. At that moment of time, some process holds the resources which is required for the particular process. So at that time, it has to wait in the waiting state. Then once the waiting state, when the process which holds the resources, if it is released, the process which is waiting in the waiting state, then it releases and make use of the resources and move to the ready state. So once the processes get ready, the process which is waiting will be assigned to the particular process. So once when the process is finishes waiting, then resources get, then it make use of that execution, and once if it is ready, then move once again to the running state. So that is scheduler dispatch. So once the process is ready for the execution, then it moves to the running process. Okay, or due to some I said in the beginning, if the process or a program which is divided by 0, I'm giving one example, such there are so many examples, like divide by 0, or the function may not be written properly, at that time interrupt get accept, then it has moved to ready state, then once it is been get resolved, once again it moved to the running state. Okay, then after the completion, that is a next, it is a terminated state. The process has finished execution. So when the process finished execution, then it get exit, that is get terminated. So whenever you create a process, this is how it's going to perform the operation. So once the process is get ready, the process is being created in the new. Once it is get created, then it moves to the ready state. Once it is ready in the ready state, it is start running. Also, when there is a process, the resources which is required to run the process, if it is available, then it gets terminated. If at all not, then it has to move to the waiting state. So it has to wait till its turn comes. So after when it turns gets come, then it moves to the ready state once again. Then it performs the operation, that is it checks whether the process is ready to process the execution. Then it moves to the running state. Once it is moves to the running state, then it is complete its works and starts get, and it is end its termination process, then it's moved to the terminated state. So this is what actually perform the process when it get created. So whenever process gets creates, this is what the operation performs. Okay, so this is what yeah. Next, we'll move on to the process control block. Process control block, and of course, this is a very important question also. So we'll move to the process control block. In the process, whenever process gets created, these are the things it gets allocated to the particular process. Process state, program counter, CPU register, CPU scheduling information, memory management, accounting information, IO input output status information. And the process control block is also called as a task control block, or you can call as a PCB, task control block. It contains a many information, there is many piece of information associated with the process. Okay, we'll see one by one. Process state, see that it looks, this is what the PCB, it has a process states, process number, program counter, registers, memory limits, list of open files, so many. So this is what the contents, it has been shown in the diagrammatical. Okay, so we'll see one by one what actually a process states. Process states is that whether it checks the process, whether it in the ready state, or in the new state, or in the running, or in the waiting, or whether it has been terminated, or so on. Okay, it checks whether the process in which state, there may be in the new state, maybe in the new, or in the maybe in the ready state, or maybe in the terminated state. What we saw in the last slide, it checks whether it in which one of the states it is the process is there. That shows, that gives the indication of the process. And program counter, it indicates the address of the next instructions to be executed for this process. So in each one of the process will be allocated a program counter. In that program counter, so there will be number of addresses be allocated there in the memory. So after after the process completes one task, then next, which is the task that has to be completed, has to be go, or which are the position, For example, process is running at this point of location means, then which the next location it's not, maybe this location or maybe in this location, we don't know that, as that is been written in that program counter. After completion of this task, where it has to move to the where the control has to move, or maybe control can move at this location depending upon the process. That information is stored in the program counter. CPU register, CPU registers. CPU registers is something like vary in number and type depending upon the CPU architecture. They may include a index register, stack pointer, etc., or maybe conditional code, etc. All those things. Where program counter, that is whenever interrupt get occurs, that information will be stored in CPU register. So allows the process to be continue, or it has to be whether it has to be get terminated, or whether it has to switch on to the next CPU process, or whether it has to allocate the resources it is being used by the particular process has to be moved to the some other resources, or whether it has to halt the process at that particular location for certain period of time, etc. That information will be kept in the CPU register. According to that, it has to perform the operation. CPU scheduling information. CPU scheduling information. This information includes the priority of the process, pointers to the scheduling queues, and other scheduling parameters. We'll see it in the chapter 5th. How it is going to perform CPU scheduling? Such type of information, something like in the scheduling queue. So you may see that process may wait for particular resources in the queue. Okay, for example, process P naught at this point of time on the time sharing from 0 to 1 second, it may use of these resources, and from 0 to 2 from 1 to 2 process P2 can make use of the resources, and next P3 can make use of at this location, and next P1 P naught can make use of these resources from 3 to 4. At that time, it has to sit idle. No, that is what scheduling. At what time the CPU resources can be used by the process, that has been can be seen in the CPU scheduling. We'll study this entire thing in chapter 5. And memory management information. In the memory management information includes such as there is base and limit register, page tables, segment tables, depending on the memory system used by the operating system. Memory management information you will come across when you study in the 5th module. What are the information that is being used by the process in the PCB. Accounting information. Accounting information maybe includes the amount of CPU it has been used by the processors, and the time limits, accounting the numbers and number of process running in the CPU, and the number of process which is are idle in the queue, etc. That information will be stored in the accounting information. Input output status information. There is input output status information. This includes the list of the input output devices allocated to the processor. List of input output devices allocated to the process. That information will be stored in the input output status information. So these are the these are the 7 PCB associated with. One is process states, program counter, CPU register, CPU scheduling information, memory management, accounting information, input output status information. One is process states, program counter, CPU registers, CPU scheduling information, memory management, accounting information, and input output device information. Very important question. And you can see here in this diagram CPU how it is features from one process to other. So you can see the processor P0 as well as P1 is there. So P1 P0 start executing. I said this P0 start executing its work from 0 to 1. Okay, start executing. So due to some interrupt, it saves the state in the PCB. So it states see from 0 to 1 it perform the operation, make use of CPU, and it's saved. P0 is being saved at this point of time. Okay, next from 1 to 2 both the process P0 and P1 both are idle, so it won't make use of any of the CPU time due to some reason. What is that reason? We'll see it in the next coming modules. So from 0 to 2 there is no process is making use of the CPU. So, but process P naught, the state of the process P naught is being saved. It has performed some operation and it is being saved at this location. Okay, then reload the state from PCB. So something, some operation has been performed certain period of time. At this point of location, it was idle, and at the 2 to 3 minutes, the nanosecond, P2 is start getting executing. Sorry, P1, not P2. P1 start executing. Okay, so P2 2 to 3 start executing. So the whatever the condition at what location it was saved in PCB, from that point of time it starts executing the reload the state of the PCB. Maybe it may be in the ready state, or maybe in the running state, or maybe in the waiting state, etc. We don't know. On that location, at that particular point of time, it start executing P1, and certain period of time due to some interrupt or some system calls, that is P1 stops executing. From 3 to 4 nanosecond, this is idle, both are idle. See, you can see here, this is also idle, and this location is also idle. And next from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5, once again you can see P0 is start reloading the PCB at what location it was saved. From that it starts executing P0. So this is how the process scheduling occur in the system. We'll see in detail in the coming next modules. I hope it was understood, and we'll move on to the next slide. Okay, yeah, and yeah. Yes, next. Yeah, next it is a process scheduling queues. In the process scheduling queue, you can see three sets. One is job queue, ready queue, device queue. In the job queue, it is set of all process in the system. Set of all the process in the system. Job queue. Ready queue, set of all the process residing in main memory. Ready, waiting to execute. Set of all the process residing in main memory. Make it a note. It's a main memory, ready and waiting to execute, which is already ready to make use of the CPU. One thing, and second one is the process which is waiting to execute in a queue. The process P1 is already ready to execute, and process P1, process P2, process P3 are all in ready queue to start making use of the CPU. After completion of P0, this is in the sequence, it is ready to make use of the CPU. Device queue, set of all process waiting for input output devices. After completion, some of the process may make use of the input output devices. So that is will be ready in the device queue. That is in the queue part, in the queue itself. Which are the queues, which are the process are waiting for input output devices are all in the in device queues. Process migration among the various queues. So you can see this ready queue, various input output devices queues. Okay, in this you can see that PCB7, the process 7, process 2 are in the queue header. That is in the ready queue, which is ready queue. What is actually ready queue says? Ready queue says the process which is in the main memory, which is ready to execute, and the process which is waiting into execute. Okay, so this is the process which is ready to execute, as well as a process which is waiting to execute. And this is ready queue, and mag tag, that is okay. In the disk, PCB3, PCB4 and PCB6 are all in the disk. There is disk in the sense device queues. In the there is some of the process which are ready to make use of the input and output devices. So process 3, process 14 and process 6 are ready in queue to make use of the input output devices, and process 5 is in the termination, which is already executed, so this is something like a linked list, okay. So tail, this is PCP2, and here it is PCP7. There is a 7th process and second process. So this is what the ready queue and input output devices queues, how it looks. So next, present representation of the process scheduling. Representation of the process scheduling. The process could, there is, you can see here the process which is ready in queue for execution, and the CPU, there is the process which is already ready in a ready queue will make use of the CPU, and after completion of the making use of the CPU, it execute and it gets terminated. And some process, there is maybe request for the input output devices. Some process may require for the some particular time. After that particular time only it starts. For example, process P1 and P0 and P1. P0 is ready to execute and completes its work. P1 it has to wait some more time, so it moves to the time slice. After when it times gets come, then only it moves to the ready queue. Then it starts to complete its work. So some process may require input output devices. At that time it moves to the input output queue. So process P1, process P2, process P3, okay, it's making use of some of the input devices. So in this order only it will be in the input output queue. So once its turn comes, it make use of the devices and it moves to the ready queue. After that it releases the devices after completion of this resources. And some process wants to create its child for some execution. Once it creates a child process, after execution of the child process, then only the parent process completes its CPU schedule. It sends first the child to the ready queue and make use of the CPU, and it gets terminated. Then the parent process be moved to the ready queue. So fork is used to create a child process. Okay, child process. Fork is used to create a child process, and some process may wait in interrupt due to some program there is error, or due to some execution during execution. Whenever the process gets created, due to some like example of divide by 0, at that time interrupt get occurs. So whenever interrupt gets occur, it has to move to the interrupt and waits till it gets clear, then it moves to the ready queue. So this is what the representation of the CPU scheduling. We'll see it in the next slide. What actually the next slide is scheduler. We'll move to the next slide. Yes, we'll move to the next slide. Scheduler. In the scheduler, there are two types. One is long-term scheduler and short-term scheduler, or job scheduler or CPU scheduler. So the name itself says long-term means job scheduler, short-term means CPU. So short means it make use of the main memory. Long-term it make use of the secondary memory. So it selects which process should be brought into the ready queue. So it has to bring the process from the secondary memory to the main memory to send it to the ready queue. So it is a long process. See, short-term scheduler, which selects the process should be executed next and allocate the CPU, which is in the main memory. So long-term scheduler select the process from the pool and loads them into memory for the execution. Short-term scheduler selects from the process that are ready to execute and allocate the CPU to one of them. So which is ready to execute. So that is short-term. And it has to, the long-term scheduler, it has to select in the pool which process is ready for the executed. That process has to be taken from the pool and load them into the memory for the execution. Short-term, which is already ready in the queue for execution, to allocate the CPU to execution process. So you can addition of the medium term scheduler. Before that, before that there is a two, there is input bounding and input output bounding process and CPU bounding process. In the input output bounding process is the one that spends more of its time doing input output than it's spending doing a computation. CPU bounding process there is a context generates input output request request using more of its time during computation. So that is what I would like to get clear, make it clear: the CPU output bounding process and CPU, so input output bounding process. And here you can see the process which is ready to get execution. It execute the CPU process and it gets terminated. And some process may wait in the input output queues, that is for the some devices, and after that getting the devices, it will move to the ready queue. And some process wants to be swapped between the process at that point of time. It moves to the there is partially which is executed, and it has to wait for its time, or it may create its child, or after completion of the execution of its child, the process gets executed. So once the process creates a child, it completes its the child work has to be get completed. Once it's the child process is executed, it then gets terminated. Then the parent child will go to gets executed. Till that, it has to wait in the waiting queue. Scheduler. Long-term scheduler is invoked very frequently in milliseconds. Long-term scheduler is invoked very infrequently, that is maybe in the minutes also. Long-term is scheduler is very infrequently. Short-term invoked very frequently in milliseconds. Long-term scheduler controls the degree of multi-programming. Process can either be described, that is inbound input output bound process, CPU bounding process spends more time doing input output than computation, that is input output bound process. CPU bound process spends more time doing computation. There is there is a difference between input output bound process and CPU bound process. When CPU, there is context switches. In the context switches, when CPU switches to another process, the system must save the state of old process and load the saved state for the new process via context switches. When CPU switches to another process, that is maybe process P0 may switch to P1, the system must, the CPU, see, when CPU switches to another, CPU is making use of the resources, there is a P1 making use of the resources of CPU. So due to some reason, it has to give a CPU time is to be given to the P0. At that time, the P1 state has to be saved, and it has to be allocated to the new processors via context switches. Context of a process represented in PCB. Context switch time is overhead. The system does no useful work while switching. So system does not useful work while switching. Time dependent on hardware support. So next process creation is there. We'll see it in the next videos. That is in the next session. Till that, you can make use of the videos. If you have any doubt, you can ask in the online session. Thank you.